When I was 17, I ran the register at the Family Dollar in Soya, Georgia. Nothing fancy, buzzing fluorescent lights, linoleum floors that clung to your shoes, and bored high school kids who came in after the bell for hot Cheetos and cheap soda. But it covered my movie tickets, late-night gas station slushies, and clearance rack jeans. Best part? It was just a 10-minute walk from my folks' place, cut through a few sleepy blocks, cross Main Street, and boom, I was home. I didn't have a car yet, but my busted-up Converse could still carry me. It was a Tuesday evening, early October, one of those dusky southern nights when the air smells like burnt leaves and someone's grill from 3 houses down. My shift ended at 9 p.m., and the place had been dead all day, just a few folks popping in for toilet paper or Reese's. I clocked out, slung my canvas bag over one shoulder, and stepped toward the door. "Be careful walking home, Laya," Erin called out, wiping down the counter. She was 28, wore chipped black nail polish, and smelled like menthols. Kind of like the older sister I never had, but definitely needed. "I'll be fine," I said, faking, more confidence than I felt. The sun had dipped, and the night felt too still. She squinted at me over her glasses. "Text me when you get in, got it?" "Promise," I said, pushing through the glass doors and into the violet twilight. The first few blocks were chill. Street lamps flickered to life, casting golden halos on cracked sidewalks. A couple cars rolled by, windows up, music low. But the second I turned off Main and into the neighborhood, something shifted. The air felt tighter. Still. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. I slowed. Maybe someone else heading home? Happens. Soya's small, and folks still walk places. But then I glanced back. About 50 feet behind me, a man. Hoodie up, hands deep in his pockets, head tilted just low enough I couldn't make out his face. My gut clenched. He'd been in the store earlier. Around 3 p.m. bought a single pack of gum. Didn't speak. Didn't smile. Just stared at me with this weird kind of focus. Like he was studying me. Like he knew something I didn't. And now, he was here. Following me into the dark folds of a neighborhood I'd walked 100 times without blinking. I picked up my pace, quick, uneven. "Please turn," I begged in my head. "Just go a different way." But as I neared the corner by my house, I risked another look. Still there. Same distance, same rhythm, like he was syncing with me. Cold panic gripped my chest. No way I could let him see where I lived. So instead of turning right onto my street, I veered sharp left and ducked through the side yard of the Gray's place. Used to babysit their kids back when I was 12. Their fence was busted, gate half hanging. I slipped through the trees, hopped a low chain link into our backyard, and bolted for the back door. My hands shook as I fumbled the key. It finally clicked. I slammed the door shut and locked it fast. My heart pounded so loud it drowned out everything else. From the living room window, I peeked between the curtains. 3 minutes passed, maybe 4. Then I saw him. He walked by, slow, controlled, hoodie still up. Didn't look around, didn't knock, just passed. But that was enough. The next morning, over eggs and toast, I told my parents everything. My mom froze mid-sip of her coffee. "You are not walking to work anymore," she snapped. "But it's literally 10 minutes. No." My dad's voice cut in, stern and solid. "You're taking your mom's car until we figure this out." And for once, I didn't argue. 2 nights later, I closed again. This time, I parked Mom's dusty Corolla dead center under the store's lights. I kept telling myself he was a fluke, a one-time creep. Around 7:30 p.m., I was straightening shelves near aisle 5, humming under my breath when I felt it. That shift in the air. I looked up. There he was. Same hoodie, same slouched stance, same flat stare like he was seeing through me. My breath caught. I slid back toward the counter, pretending to fix a bin of Twix bars. Erin passed by and caught my face. "You good, El?" she asked. I gave her a nod toward him. "That's him, the guy from the other night." Her expression hardened. "Stay right here." She walked up to him, cool but firm. "Can I help you find something?" He didn't answer, didn't even glance at her, just mumbled, just looking, and wandered deeper into the store. He didn't buy anything, just moved from aisle to aisle, touching cans, shifting batteries around. 10 long minutes of nothing. Then he left, quiet as he came. No one said a word for a beat. Then Erin muttered, "Next time, we're calling the cops." And I believed her. The following week, I had another closing shift. This time, Erin wasn't. Working that night, just me and Lisa, our assistant manager, a chain smoker in Skechers who mostly stayed holed up in the back with inventory and lukewarm coffee. It was dead quiet. No kids, no chatter, just the low hum of the freezer and the ticking clock above the register. Something about the stillness set my teeth on edge. At 8:45 p.m., the bell above the door gave its usual cheerful jingle. I looked up and froze. It was him. My hands turned to ice. He moved like this was routine, like walking into Family Dollar at night and buying gum was just part of his schedule. He brought a bottle of water and a pack of gum to the counter, set them down with precision. No words, just a slow, knowing smirk and exact change. 2:35, already in his hand like he'd rehearsed it. I didn't even make eye contact. I didn't breathe until I heard the door close behind him. Then I noticed the car, parked at the far edge of the lot. No lights, engine rumbling low like a growl. It didn't move when I locked up, didn't move as I climbed into Mom's car, but the second I turned my key in the ignition, his headlights blinked on. It was him, behind the wheel, waiting. I didn't go home. I yanked the wheel left and floored it out of the lot, heart hammering against my ribs like it wanted out. My hands were shaking so bad, I almost missed the turn for the police station. I burst through the doors with my breath in pieces. Officer Brooks was on duty, a tall guy with salt and pepper hair and a voice so calm it made you more nervous. I gave him everything I could. Hoodie, face, build, the way he walked like the ground owed him something. Brooks scribbled notes, nodding slowly, but his eyes said something else. "We'll keep an eye out," he said. Not exactly comforting. A few days later, Erin showed up for her shift, looking pale. She pulled me aside by the cleaning aisle. "Lila," she whispered, eyes darting around. "My cousin. He knows that guy. His name's Nick Thaler." I swallowed hard. She kept going, voice lower now. "He's been in and out of psych wards. Real messed up, obsessed with girls. Follows them, talks to himself sometimes." She didn't need to finish. My stomach was already sinking. The next Saturday night, 10 minutes to close, I was sweeping. Near the entrance when the bell rang again, Nick stepped in, same hoodie. But this time it was drawn tighter around his face. No bottled water, no gum, no act. "You've been talking about me," he said, voice flat, robotic, eyes empty. I tightened my grip on the broom. I don't know what you mean." "You went to the cops." His tone didn't rise, but his eyes twitched like static. He took a step forward. The stench of smoke and sour breath hit me like a slap. My legs locked in place. Then I heard a door swing open behind me. Erin. She'd come in early. I hadn't even realized. She took one look and stormed toward us. "What the hell's going on?" she demanded, eyes on Nick. He turned on her, jaw twitching, expression warping into something animal. "Stay out of this." Erin didn't blink. "Get out! Now!" He stood frozen for a second like he was weighing something. Then he spun around and shoved the door so hard it banged against the frame. The windows shook. I stood there, broom still in hand, heart still somewhere in my throat. Week later, Nick was arrested after a high-speed chase off Route 9. Cops found meth, pills, and a loaded handgun in his trunk. His mugshot hit the evening news. Same blank stare, same hollow eyes. I didn't sleep that night. Drove down to the station the next morning to confirm it. They didn't ask questions. They already knew. I quit a few months later. It was just retail, nothing special. Just a pit stop before whatever came next. But to this day, I still remember it all. His footsteps behind me, the silence between his stares, the way his smile curled like he knew something I didn't. And I remember what it felt like when I finally got to exhale. The Houston sun had that syrupy glow that stuck to your skin, humid and heavy but somehow comforting, like the world hadn't turned on you just yet. Mornings like that made you want to roll down the windows, let the breeze slap your face, crank up some old rock station just loud enough to hum along. Katie and I had circled this Galveston trip on the calendar for weeks. No frills, just a beach, cheap gas station snacks, toes in the sand, maybe get a little sun drunk from all the nothingness. We hadn't even made it 5 minutes down the road when Katie straightened up in her seat like she'd sat on a tack. Shit, I forgot the sunscreen. I shot her a sideways glance. You're kidding me, she winced. Do you want me to end up like a boiled lobster again? She had a point. Last time she turned so red she couldn't wear a bra for 2 days. Her skin flaked like pastry dough. I sighed. Fine, there's a Family Dollar coming up. Before I could finish the sentence, she was already halfway unbuckled. 2 minutes, promise. I pulled into the lot, picked a spot near the entrance, left the engine running, AC low, radio murmuring out some forgettable pop song. Katie jogged, off, her tote bag slapping her thigh, flip-flops clacking against the pavement. I leaned back, muttered, 2 minutes, and let my eyes drift across the lot. It was surprisingly active for a Tuesday. A young mom strapped her toddler into a car seat while her boyfriend played Tetris with the groceries in their trunk. A couple teens argued by the red box. One kept saying, "Bro, nobody wants to watch some artsy shit tonight." Normal stuff. Until it wasn't. He shuffled out of the store like time moved different for him. Mid-40s maybe, beard patchy, skin the color of old paper, greasy ball cap twisted backward on his head. His t-shirt looked like it had been soaked in motor oil, and then, wrung out and forgotten. Cargo pants hung off his frame like curtains, the pockets bulging weird and heavy. He lit a cigarette, took a drag, and started scanning the parking lot like he was counting something. When his eyes landed on mine, it hit me. This weird gut-level drop, like stepping off a curb in the dark and not finding the street. I looked away fast, tapped my phone screen like I had a reason to, but I felt it, the shift. When I looked up, he was walking toward the car. Not fast, slow, unbothered, like he had nowhere else to be and all the time to get there. Great, I muttered, hand already ghosting toward the door lock. Not that. I hadn't already locked it. He stopped at the driver's side. The cigarette dangled from his lip, ashes building up. He tapped the window with one knuckle, polite, but with an edge. I cracked it an inch. "Hey man," he rasped, voice all grit and rust. "You got a couple bucks, need a ride downtown?" "Can't help you," I said flat and quick, in a hurry. He didn't blink. "Come on man, just a few bucks, ain't asking for much." His eyes locked onto mine again. Bloodshot, unfocused, but something moved behind them. Something twitchy. I said no again, firmer this time. Then he grabbed the door handle and yanked. It didn't budge. Thank God. "What the hell?" I snapped, shoving the window up fast. He didn't flinch. Started pounding harder. Faster. The knocking turned into slamming. His face twisted, lips peeling back like a feral animal. "Don't ignore me, you little..." "Fuck, open the goddamn door." I scanned the store entrance like my life depended on it, and maybe it did. Then I saw her. Katie stepped out, plastic bag swinging, clueless grin on her face. She waved. "Katie," I yelled, voice cracking with panic. She froze mid-step. "Sam!" The guy stopped and turned. Something flickered across his face then. Wasn't recognition. It was hunger. Real, gnawing hunger. I didn't think. I threw the door open. "Hey!" I barked. "Back off!" He turned slow, grin twitching at the edges like he was barely holding himself together. "What's your problem, man?" I shouted. Katie stood a few feet from the car, frozen like a rabbit, on a highway. "Sam, what's happening?" "Get in the car," I barked, too loud. She flinched. That's when I saw it. A thin flash of metal in his back pocket, handle sticking out, knife. He lunged. I bolted around the front of the car. "Katie, get in now!" Katie sprinted to the passenger door, flip-flops slapping pavement, her bag thudding against her side. I didn't look back. I could hear him behind me, feet hitting the ground fast, breath short and wet like he was already dying. My hand caught the door handle, yanked it open, and I threw myself inside, just as his shadow lunged toward me. She slammed her door at the same time, gasping, hair stuck to her cheek. "Lock it!" she screamed. My thumb slammed the lock button. Click. He reached her side a second too late, yanking at the handle like it owed him something. When it didn't give, he lost it, screamed, slapped both palms against the glass with a sickening whap-whap, over and over again. "Drive, Sam." I jammed the gear into reverse, heart pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. Tires shrieked as we jerked backward. He staggered but didn't stop, ran around the front and slammed his fists onto the hood, body spread like a threat. For a second, I thought he was going to climb. "Hold on," I yelled. I slammed my foot down. The car lunged forward. Tires screamed louder than he did. At the last second, he dove out of the way, his shoulder smacking the concrete as we roared past. Inside the Mowind. The rear view, I saw him still in the lot, screaming, fists raised, body shaking like a wire pulled too tight. A few people had noticed now. One guy held up his phone, recording. Another woman grabbed her kid's hand and backed away slowly, eyes darting between him and the cars. Katie sat frozen, hands clamped to her thighs, fingers trembling. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Then, finally, "What the hell just happened?" she whispered. I kept my eyes on the road. My knuckles were bone white on the wheel. "I don't know. He just came at me." I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. She pulled out her phone with shaking fingers. "We should call the cops." Yeah, do it." She gave the dispatcher everything, his description, where we were, what he'd done. I kept checking the mirror, part of me convinced he'd somehow be there, sprinting after us barefoot with that glint still in his eyes. We didn't speak for a while, just drove. The farther we got, the more my pulse slowed, but it didn't settle. Not really. Something had scraped across our lives, left a mark you couldn't see but you felt, like a bruise on the inside of your ribs. Katie finally spoke. "Do you think he was gonna—" She stopped herself. "I don't want to know what he was going to do," I said quietly. "But if I hadn't locked that door—" She didn't answer, just stared out the window, face pale, mouth drawn. Later, we sat on the sand, trying to soak in the afternoon like nothing had happened. The sun hit our backs warm and forgiving. Waves lapped gently at the shore like they always did. But my mind kept circling back to his face, that look he gave me. It wasn't just anger, it was possession, like he thought he deserved something from me. Some predators don't need a reason, they just take. That evening, my phone buzzed. The officer's voice was calm. They'd found someone matching the description. He was still around the store when they arrived, acting strange. Detained now, but couldn't confirm if he had a weapon, and nothing tied him to anything bigger. They were holding him for questioning. Thanked them, but my stomach stayed knotted. As the sun melted into the gulf and everything turned soft and orange again, Katie leaned her head on my shoulder, her voice barely a breath. "No more random store stops." "Deal," I said. It should have been a joke, but it wasn't, because after that day, every parking lot felt like a trap. Every stranger, a coin toss, and some stares you don't ever forget. I'd been clocking in at the Family Dollar on the edge of town for just shy of 6 months. It wasn't a dream job. Hell, most days it barely felt like a job. But it kept the lights on and gas in my tank. The place always smelled like pine sol and damp cardboard, and the flickering fluorescence gave everything this weird, washed-out color, like the whole store was tired of existing. I kept my head down, stacked shelves, scanned barcodes, and stayed out of Greg's line of fire. "Shannon?" Greg called out from behind the scratched-up counter, already half-turned toward the back. "Aisle 3's light. Restock it." And keep an eye on the bleach. Someone's been lifting bottles again. I didn't bother responding. Just grabbed the stock cart and headed down the cramped aisle. Another day, another passive-aggressive lecture from my 40-something manager with a superiority complex and a receding hairline. I tried to get into that mindless rhythm, shelf, cart, shelf, but by noon, the place started to buzz. Moms juggling toddlers and shopping lists, pensioners with coupons clutched like gold, and local teens darting in and out with stolen glances and energy drinks. Then Mrs. Turner came in. She was in her mid-40s, always dressed like she was headed somewhere more important than here, usually dragging her son Jake along. Quiet kid, always half-tuned out with his headphones slung around his neck. She'd usually flash me a tired smile, maybe make a joke about prices going up again. But not today. She slipped through the door like she was sneaking in. Her face was pale, her lips pressed tight like she was holding something in. Maybe words, maybe fear. Jake trailed behind her, slouched and vacant. His headphones weren't playing anything. I could tell from here. They just hung there like dead weight. "Afternoon, Mrs. Turner," I said, throwing on a customer service smile. She flinched, full-on jumped at the sound of my voice. "Just need a few things," she mumbled, her hand gripping her purse strap like it was a lifeline. She didn't make eye contact, just kept moving, her walk jerky, like her brain was 2 steps ahead of her body. I watched them disappear down the aisle, and something in me twitched. Maybe it was the way Jake's eyes lingered on me. Too long, too still. But I shook it off. Everyone's got off days. An hour later, I was stocking soup when I heard it, a crash, loud and sharp from the back. I sighed and rolled my eyes, figuring some kid knocked over a display. But when I turned the corner into aisle 3, I froze. Mrs. Turner stood there, clutching a bottle of bleach like it was a weapon, or maybe a shield. Her knuckles were white, her whole body trembling. Tears cut down her cheeks, and her breathing came in short, panicked bursts. Jake stood a few feet away, still as a statue. But it wasn't the stillness that got me. It was the way he looked at her. Detached. Like she wasn't his mother anymore. Like she was something other. "Hey," I said gently, trying to keep my voice steady. "Everything all right here?" Mrs. Turner didn't even acknowledge me. She just shook her head slightly, barely enough to notice, her eyes locked on the bleach bottle. Jake's head turned toward me, slow and deliberate. His face was blank, cold. "We're fine," he said, monotone, like someone repeating a phrase they'd memorized without understanding it. Then she dropped the bottle. It hit the tile with a crack that echoed down the aisle. Without a word, she bolted, straight for the front of the store. Didn't even glance at Jake. Just ran like she was trying to escape something unseen. Jake didn't flinch. He just watched her leave, still as ever, his gaze glued to the space she'd just vacated. The rest of the shift dragged like a nightmare. I kept replaying the scene in my head, the bleach, the look in her eyes, Jake's voice like it didn't belong to a person anymore. Sometime after 3, the store went quiet. I was ringing up a few odds and ends when I saw her again. Mrs. Turner. She stood near the entrance, facing the window but not really seeing it. Her hands clutched her purse strap, twisting it over and over like it could wring the tension out of her bones. Her skin looked paper thin, and her eyes were wide, terrified. I stepped out from behind the register. "Mrs. Turner, you okay?" She turned to me slowly. Her mouth opened, but her voice barely made it out. "Can I borrow your phone?" she whispered, the words trembling on her lips. I didn't ask questions. I handed it to her. She snatched it like a lifeline and darted out the door into the dimming daylight. Just gone. Jake stayed behind, still leaning against the shelves, watching, silent. I stood there, the pit in my stomach growing colder by the second. Outside, through the window, I watched her pace near the curb, phone pressed to her ear. Her voice, so low I couldn't catch a word, but the way her free hand shook told me everything I needed to know. Whatever was going on, it was just getting started. Her hands trembled as she clutched the phone, shoulders drawn tight like every muscle in her body was wound too tight to move freely. She stood near the automatic doors, facing the parking lot, but seeing something far away, somewhere else entirely, like just dialing a number took more strength than she had left. A few minutes later, she stepped back in, ghost pale under the buzzing lights. She handed me the phone, her fingers brushing mine, cold and clammy. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice cracked like something was splintering inside her. I opened my mouth to ask what was going on, really going on, but then Jake was just there behind her, like he'd materialized out of the fluorescent hum. "Mom, let's go," he said, not loud, but with a bite that made her flinch like he'd raised a hand instead of his voice. She nodded quickly, almost reflexively, and gave me this look, wide, wet eyes, locked on mine. A desperate, silent kind of pleading that made my throat tighten. Then she turned and left. Jake followed right behind her, too close, too quiet. By 5, the store had thinned out. Most of the usuals had come and gone. The background noise of chatter and shopping carts had faded, replaced by the soft whir of the air conditioning and the occasional beep from the register. I was in aisle 3 again, refilling cans, trying to push down the unease gnawing at my ribs. That's when I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate. I turned around and nearly jumped out of my skin. Jake stood at the end of the aisle, holding a box cutter. Not one of ours, one of the heavy-duty ones we kept behind the counter. His eyes were fixed on me, sharp and empty at the same time. "Hey," I said, trying not to let my voice crack. "You okay? Can I help you with something?" No answer, just silence thick enough to choke on. He gripped the box cutter tighter, his knuckles bone white. The blade caught the overhead lights and reflected a cold, sterile glint. "Jake?" I tried again, heart pounding now, my voice a little higher, thinner. "What's going on?" He took one step forward, just one, and then he said, "She was going to leave us." His voice didn't sound like it came from a teenager. It was flat, distant, like he was reporting something he'd read about, not lived through. A chill swept down my back. "Leave who?" I asked, barely above a whisper. He blinked slowly. "Me and Dad. She was planning to run. I heard her." I backed up instinctively, bumping into a shelf. The cans rattled behind me. "What are you talking about?" My voice was shaking now. I could feel it. So could he. Jake looked right at me, and for a second, it felt like he could see through me. I couldn't let her do that. His fingers tightened on the handle until it looked like his skin might split. The blade caught the light again. "Where's your mom, Jake?" I asked, barely able to speak. He tilted his head slightly. That same eerie, calm smile crept across his lips like something dark and alive. "She's not going anywhere now." The words hit me like a gut punch. Cold dread washed through my veins. I bolted, ran down the aisle, my shoes slipping on the waxed floor. I didn't look back. Couldn't. I hit the front of the store and shouted, "Greg, call the cops!" Greg looked up, startled. "What? What's—" "No time, just call." I turned, and there Jake was again, silent, still, right behind me. Too fast, too quiet. The box cutter was still in his hand, now streaked with red, and there was blood across his shirt. Not a lot, just enough to make the world tilt. The customers near the register screamed. Someone dropped a basket. People started running, bolting for the door like a fire had broken out. Greg fumbled with the phone, stammering into the receiver. Yes, Family Dollar, yes, now please." But Jake didn't look at them. He was only looking at me. "You don't understand," he said almost gently. "She deserved it." That phrase, it snapped something in me. My breath hitched, chest tightening like a vice. I couldn't process, couldn't even ask what he meant. Sirens cut through the air minutes later, but it felt like hours. When the police came in, Jake didn't fight. He just stood there murmuring the same words like a mantra. "She deserved it. She deserved it. She deserved it." They found her in the back storage room, hidden behind crates of paper towels and toilet cleaner. Her body curled in on itself like she'd tried to make herself small. Her eyes still open. I can't forget that, no matter how hard I try. I quit the next morning. Told Greg I couldn't come back. Didn't tell him why. He didn't. But I keep seeing Jake's face when I close my eyes. That blank stare. The way his voice never rose, never cracked. Just cold logic where emotion should have been. And his words. They still echo, bouncing around my skull late at night. She deserved it, over and over, like a broken record. And I lie, there in the dark, wide awake, wondering how many more are out there. Just like him. Smiling. Waiting. Quiet. It was one of those weirdly cold October evenings in Houston. Colder than it had any right to be. The kind of cold that clings to your skin, makes you feel like something's off. The sun had dipped just below the tree line, smearing red and gold, across the sky like it got stabbed on the way down. I figured I'd run out real quick to Family Dollar. Not a glamorous spot, sure, but it was close. Just a few blocks from my crummy apartment off Westview. I wasn't after anything special. Batteries, maybe some paper towels, definitely something sugary. I'd skipped dinner. Couldn't eat. The silence in my place had started to feel heavy, like the walls were listening. I pulled into the lot, half lit and mostly empty except for a buzzing street lamp above my car that kept flickering like it was trying to give up. A young mom across the lot was wrestling her toddler into a car seat, cursing under her breath while the kid screamed bloody murder. Leaning against the store's brick wall was this older dude, heavyset, gray stubble, smoking a cigarette like it was his last friend. I gave him a polite nod. He didn't nod back, just watched, not curious, more like cataloging. Inside, the place smelled like burnt plastic and bleach. You know the smell. Everything looked tired. The fluorescent lights buzzed low overhead, one of them blinking in seizure-like spurts near the freezer section. The usual canned pop music had cut out between songs, leaving this uncomfortable silence you could almost hear breathing. There were a few other shoppers, two older women talking about coupons in Spanish, some guy with earbuds arguing with himself near the frozen meals. The cashier, a girl who couldn't be more than 20, had purple hair tucked into a messy bun, and an expression that said she hated everything about her job. She was half hidden behind her phone at the counter, didn't even glance up. I grabbed a basket and started moving through the aisles, just doing the mental checklist thing. Batteries, dish soap, box of that instant mac that tastes like cardboard unless you drown it in hot sauce. My mind wasn't even really in the store. I was zoning, just trying to feel normal. Until I hit the fridge section and reached in for a soda. That's when I felt it. That tight pull at the base of your neck, like your instincts noticed something. Before your brain caught up, like someone had just leaned in behind you but didn't breathe. I turned. She was standing there, mid-40s maybe. White, pale like she hadn't been in the sun for a while. Hair pulled back into this lazy, uneven ponytail. Gray jacket zipped halfway up, sneakers that had clearly seen better decades. But it was her stillness that hit me, like she was posing for a painting, eyes locked right on mine, unblinking. "You come here a lot," she said. Her voice was quiet, steady, too steady, like she'd practiced the line. Yeah, I said, trying not to sound freaked out. "Live close by. It's easy." She gave a small nod, didn't break eye contact. "I've noticed you always grab the same soda." My gut dropped. I looked down. Generic lemon lime. "Same one I always grab, yeah, but who the hell notices that?" I gave a little laugh, forced. Creature of habit, I guess. "It's cheap." She tilted her head a bit. Her lips pulled into a smile, so thin it looked painful. "Cheap and predictable, that's good. Predictable is safe." Something about the way she said that, like she wasn't agreeing, just declaring it, made my skin crawl. No sarcasm, no tone, just words, like a statement. In a police report, I gave a tight nod and moved on, ducked into the next aisle, but I could feel her. That pressure behind me, like gravity had gotten heavier between my shoulder blades. Whatever, I told myself. She's just weird. Every town's got a few. Harmless, probably lonely. But then, it kept happening. I turned the corner, near the canned goods, and there she was again, standing at the end of the aisle, not shopping, not moving, just holding her phone low against her stomach like she was pretending to check something. But the camera lens, it was pointed right at me. My mouth went dry. I slid behind a display of beans, waited a few seconds, then shifted to the next aisle, trying to catch her in the act. There she was, one aisle over, peeking through a gap in the shelves. Her phone twitched. Just a little lift. Click. She didn't even try to hide the shutter sound. My stomach tightened like someone had grabbed it and twisted. I didn't say a word, just grabbed the last couple of things I needed and made a beeline for the front. The cashier barely glanced up, still sucked into her phone like she was part of it. "Have a good one," she muttered, not meaning it. I stepped outside into the sharp air and immediately scanned the lot. The woman hadn't followed. She was still inside, just standing there, watching. She was still there behind the glass doors, smiling. Not at me, but at my reflection, like it was the only part of me she needed. I walked out fast and didn't look back. Told myself she was just odd, some lonely woman with nothing better to do. A few days passed. I tried to forget. I really did. Told myself it was all in my head. Maybe I misread the looks, imagined the camera click. Hell, maybe I was just losing it. But curiosity's got teeth, and once it sinks them in, it doesn't let go. So I went back. Same time of night. Same dead lights overhead. She was there, like she'd never left. Standing at the far end of the store, near the cleaning supplies, fingers grazing a bottle of bleach like it was a prop and she was playing a role. When she saw me, her head snapped up and that smile spread slow across her face. Like we were old friends bumping into each other at a barbecue. "No," I muttered under my breath. "No more of this." I grabbed a basket and headed straight toward her, pushing past the fear knotted up in my chest. My footsteps echoed louder than they should have in that place. "Do I know you?" I asked, voice steady, or at least I tried to make it that way. She blinked, like I'd interrupted a dream. "No, I don't think so." "Why then?" I asked. "Why have you been watching me? Taking pictures?" She just looked at me for a long second, then laughed. Not loud, just a quiet, dry little thing, like she was sorry for me. "You're imagining things," she said, soft as ever. "Maybe you're just paranoid." And that was worse than if she'd yelled or denied. The calm in her voice, the practiced ease of it, it chilled me. Like she'd said it before. Maybe to someone else. I didn't say another word. Just left. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel all the way home. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. One night around 10:30, I realized I was out of milk. Thought about skipping it, but the craving was real. The corner store was closed and the Family Dollar was the only place still open. I figured I'd get in, grab the carton, and get the hell out. I pulled into the lot and there she was, standing beside a beat-up sedan under a twitchy streetlight. Her hood was up, phone in her hand. The screen lit her face blue. Flash. She took a picture of my car. I stared, just for a second too long, then forced myself to look away, pushed open the door, and walked inside like nothing happened. Bought the milk. Tossed in a pack of gum and a magazine I didn't even want just to give the illusion I wasn't rushing. When I came back out, she was gone. The lot was empty again, silent. Then, "You should be more careful." I spun. She was right behind me, maybe 5 feet away. No sound, no warning. Just there. My heart slammed into my ribs like it wanted out. "What do you want?" I snapped, voice cracking. I could hear it trembling. She tilted her head, lips twitching like she was considering how honest to be. "I'm just keeping an eye on you," she said. "You're interesting." That was it. No threat, no explanation. I backed away, fast, got into my car, locked the doors with shaking hands, and peeled out like I was fleeing a fire. And that should have been the last time. But it wasn't. A week later. I hadn't been back since. Wouldn't even drive past that damn store. I was taking out the trash, late, almost midnight. The complex was quiet, only the buzz of someone's TV bleeding through a wall. I was halfway to the dumpster when I stopped. Cold. That feeling again. Like static crackling along my arms. I turned. She was across the street, standing still. No phone, no smile. Just watching. Like she'd always been there. Like I'd invited her without realizing it. I called the cops. They showed up 15 minutes later, lights off, trying to be subtle. I told them everything. They listened, wrote stuff down, didn't laugh. But one of them, the older guy, gave me this half shrug. Probably. Just some harmless eccentric, he said. Let us know if she comes back. She never did. Or maybe she did, and I just haven't seen her. But I still check the windows before bed. Still lock every door twice. I hear things sometimes. Soft footsteps outside on nights when it's too cold for anyone to be out. I dream of her face. Pale, quiet, smiling like she knew something I didn't. Something I still don't. And sometimes, just sometimes, I'll wake up to this brief flicker through the blinds. A phone camera. Click. The Family Dollar in Brookfield, Texas, wasn't much to look at. Just a squat little box of a building stuck between a busted laundromat with cracked windows and a nail salon that hadn't lit its open sign since last winter. It smelled, faintly, of lemon cleaner and desperation, and the lights always buzzed like they were annoyed to be there. People came in for cheap snacks, toilet paper, the kind of stuff that ran out when your paycheck hadn't cleared yet. Nothing fancy, but it paid my phone bill and kept the tank in my Corolla just above E. I'm Sarah Mitchell, 27, scraping through part-time shifts at the register while cramming business classes into my off hours. I'm trying to build something, even if it's just a scrap of a future. Most days bled into each other, scanning cans of beans, smiling through gritted teeth, dodging creepy regulars. But that night, that one started like the rest and ended like nothing I ever expected. I clocked in a little after 3, mumbling to myself about the damn AC unit that wheezed but never blew cold, and the migraine hum of the overheads. Emma Clark was in the break room with her feet up on a milk crate, crunching through a bag of stale barbecue chips. Emma's early 40s, got a mouth like a biker and the backbone of a prison warden. We weren't friends exactly, but we had a rhythm. Survive. The shift, don't ask questions, and back each other up when things got weird, which at that store was more often than you'd think. Doug, our manager, had already bailed, claimed some family emergency, which we all knew meant he was knocking back beers at Miller's bar with his old softball buddies. Emma just snorted when I mentioned him. Guy works less than the damn vending machine. By 7, the place had gone dead quiet. I was flipping through a stack of expired coupons someone left behind, pretending to care, while Emma was out, back cursing Doug's messy stockroom. The lights buzzed. The ceiling fan clicked every few rotations. I was half asleep on my feet. Then the front door groaned open and something changed. A guy shuffled in, dragging heat and the smell of old sweat with him. Hoodie pulled down low, jeans frayed at the bottom, like he'd crawled through gravel. His face. I couldn't see it clearly at first, just the way he moved. Slow, like his joints didn't quite belong to him. But when I did catch a look at him, it was the eyes. Empty, sunken, like he hadn't slept in weeks and forgot what it meant to be awake. Evening, I muttered, not even lifting my head. He didn't say a word, just tilted his head my way, then walked deeper into the aisles. The way he picked up the basket, slow and stiff, gave me a chill I couldn't shake. He didn't grab anything, just wandered. Fingers brushing shelves, eyes flicking over cans like they weren't real. I tried not to stare, but I found myself glancing up every few seconds like my brain wouldn't let him out of my sight. I clicked the walkie on my belt. Emma, I whispered, voice low. Creepy guy just came in, reel off, not sure what he's doing. Crackling static, then her voice. What kind of off? Just watching, not buying, not talking. Keep your eyes peeled. I'll be up in a sec. For 20 minutes he drifted through the store like fog, not buying a damn thing, not even pretending to browse, just watching. Every time I looked away, I felt him in the corner of my eye. Another customer came through and I rang up their Tide and Pringles on autopilot, heart beating a little too fast. The guy never left my line of sight. By 8, it got even quieter. Emma disappeared back into the stockroom, muttering something about Doug's lazy ass. I figured I'd fix up the disaster in the cleaning aisle, bent down to stack air fresheners that had been knocked over since noon. That's when I felt it. Not a noise, not a shadow, just that cold pulse in your chest that says you're not alone anymore. "Excuse me?" came a voice behind me, low, cracked, like dry leaves in winter. I shot up so fast my head almost clipped the shelf. He was right there, closer than anyone had a right to be. His breath stank, and his eyes locked onto mine like he was searching for something behind them. Yeah?" I said, heart thumping like a drumline. "Can I help you?" "Where's the bleach?" he rasped. His voice felt wrong, like it had been borrowed from something that didn't talk much. "Aisle 4, I pointed, trying to keep it light. "Just past it." But he didn't turn, didn't even look. Just stood there, heavy and unmoving. "You work here a lot, don't you?" he asked, too softly. I hesitated, then shrugged. "I guess." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You got a nice smile." My blood ran cold. I forced a nervous laugh and stepped back just enough to breathe. "Thanks. I've got some stuff to finish. But if you need anything..." "My coworker's around." I turned, already walking fast. Not running, not yet. Just fast enough to break whatever spell he was trying to cast. My fingers were on the walkie, just about to call Emma again when his voice snapped through the air like a whip. "Don't walk away from me." It was different now, lower, angrier, a threat simmering underneath. I spun around, heart hammering. "Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave." Emma appeared at the far end of the aisle, eyes narrowed, her hand already on the handle of a box cutter she kept clipped to her belt. "Is there a problem here?" she called out, voice calm but sharp enough to cut glass. The man's jaw clenched. He glanced between the two of us like he was calculating something. Then, without a word, he turned and stormed down the aisle, muttering under his breath. I couldn't make out the words, just the tone, bitter and crawling with something dark. We locked the doors behind him and leaned against the glass like it was a shield. "Creep," Emma muttered, crossing her arms. "He shows up again. I'm calling the damn cops myself." No hesitation. I nodded, still trying to slow my breathing. The air felt thick, like his presence had stained it, like rot under floorboards. When we finally reopened, the last hour of the shift crawled by in uneasy silence. I told myself he was probably just another unstable guy who wandered in off the street looking for someone to talk to, or scare. I wanted to believe that. I needed to. It was close to closing when I did my usual sweep of the aisles just to make sure no one was hiding in a corner trying to sneak out with shampoo or jerky. I made my way to the back, where the fluorescent lights always flickered a little too much. That's when I saw it. A box. Big. Cardboard. The kind we used for the bulk toilet paper shipments. But it didn't belong there. Tucked weirdly between two bottom shelves, like someone had just wedged it there in a hurry. I frowned and stepped closer. There it was. A sound. Faint. Fabric shifting against cardboard. "Hello?" I said, my voice raspier than I expected. The box twitched. I barely had time to move before he exploded out of it like something uncoiling from the dark. He was grinning, wide and wild. Eyes stretched open too far too long, yellow teeth jagged like broken corn. "Miss me?" he hissed. I screamed, stumbling back hard into a shelf of plastic bins. I grabbed the nearest thing, one of the blue shopping baskets, and held it up between us like a damn shield. "What the hell are you doing? Get out!" He took a step forward. "Let's go somewhere quiet, Sarah." My stomach dropped. How do you know my name?" He tilted his head, grinning wider. "I know lots of things." My fingers scrambled for the walkie. I clicked it, twice, hard. Emma came flying around the corner like she'd been shot out of a gun. "Back off," she barked, one hand up, the other pulling her phone. He turned toward her, lip curling. "Stay out of this. I'm calling the cops." Her thumb hovered over the screen. He stared between us, nostrils flaring. Then slowly, he backed away, step by step, eyes never leaving mine. "You're gonna regret this," he said. Then he was gone. The cops showed up fast, took our statements, checked the store. Nothing. No footprints. No sign of him outside. But when we pulled the security footage later, I felt bile rise in my throat. He'd come in hours earlier, maybe right after I clocked in. The footage showed him slipping into that box before Emma even came up front, just curled up inside like some kind of thing, listening, watching. Doug banned him the next day, said he sent photos of his face to all the nearby shops, like that would fix what happened. Emma and I both asked to switch to days. I still see him sometimes, in flashes, in corners. A week later, I was walking to my car just after dusk. The sun had already ducked behind the trees, and the streetlights hadn't kicked on yet. I saw someone standing across the road, hoodie low, head tilted, watching. I didn't wait, didn't even think. I ran, slammed the door shut, and locked it before my brain caught up. I didn't look back, but I still feel it. Some nights when the lights flicker or the store's too quiet and I'm the only one left to close, I feel those eyes again, just beyond the edge of sight, waiting for the next box to open.